So over the past few weeks, we've seen some very fast times being ran. In particular, Mark Scott running the 10,000 metres in 27:10 to go second on the all-time British rankings behind Sir Mo Farah. Another Brit in Elliot Giles ran an indoor 800 metres in a time of 1:43.63, ranking him second on the all-time list and shattering his own personal best. While some were seen congratulating these runners on their achievements, most people were questioning the shoes ran in. And it can be seen a lot on the likes of Twitter, Let's Run, and also the Facebook page I Am or Was a Runner. And that these people can't seem to get out of their heads that the only reason these athletes are running so fast is because of the shoes. The shoes in question are the Nike Air Zoom Victory Elite and the Nike Dragonfly. Both of these shoes first featured in 2019, where a prototype was ran in during the World Athletics meeting. Since then, they were ran a full season in 2020 and have now been ran in the start of 2021. Within this video, we are going to look at whether these shoes have had a significant effect on certain athletes' performances. We will be comparing results since 2015 and seeing if certain athletes have progressed whilst wearing these super shoes. These athletes have been randomly picked by us when they feature in the top 50 of the World Athletics rankings since 2015. The only other criteria is that they have ran in between the time frame of 2015 and 2021. All athletes in question must have ran before the super shoes were released and after the super shoes were released, regardless of what shoes they have worn. First up, we're going to look at Elliot Giles' progression during the last 5 years and how this compares to when he was wearing super shoes and when he wasn't, and also how this compared him to athlete Jamie Webb, who he also raced against in multiple occasions whilst wearing the super shoes. So, in 2017, when Giles was 23 years old, he ran 1:44.99 in the 800 metres. This is classed as his personal best in the outdoors before super spikes. On the 25th of September 2020, Elliot Giles broke that personal best in a time of 1:44.56 in Doha, which we will class as his personal best within the super spikes. In comparison, Jamie Webb has an 800 metre personal best of 1:44.52, which he ran in 2019. So that 1:44.52 was ran in a non-super shoe, which is faster than Elliot Giles' outdoor personal best in a super shoe. Now onto the indoor race, what caused so much controversy, that is the race in Poland, where Elliot Giles ran 1:43.63. Jamie Webb placed second behind Elliot Giles in that race in a time of 1:44.54. So for this first example, you can see that the argument that the super spikes are given an advantage is completely ridiculous, since Elliot Giles had a slower personal best whilst wearing the super spikes outdoors than Jamie Webb did, yet he managed to beat him by over a second indoors, suggesting that this is natural improvements and not shoes. To back this up even further, Elliot Giles has ran 3 different 800 metre races this season in the super shoes. 2 of those races have been slower than his previous personal best without super shoes, which he ran indoors in 2017. It is also worth noting that Giles has improved his personal best drastically from previous super shoe races, and it is a lot greater than the difference between when he didn't run in the super shoe and when he did. So again, this just backs up the natural improvement. Next up, we're going to look at Donovan Brazier's performances within the super shoes and without the super shoes, and how this compares to Bryce Hopple's progression in Adidas's shoe. In 2019, Donovan Brazier won the World Championships in a time of 1:42.34, in which he ran in a non-super shoe spike. More times than not, he has opted to race in a non-super spike compared to the likes of the Air Zoom Victory. But he has ran 2 800 metre races in this shoe. These times were in 1:43.64 and 1:43.14, suggesting that he is in fact faster without the super spikes. Bryce Hoppel was almost 2 seconds behind Donovan Brazier in the World Athletics Championships in 2019. Whilst Donovan Brazier wasn't wearing a super spike. They both raced again in Monaco in 2020. In this race, Donovan Brazier wore a super spike and only beat Bryce Hoppel by 8/100ths of a second. And based off the logic of people arguing that the spikes are given an advantage, this proves the complete opposite. And in actual fact, Donovan Brazier is technically slowed whilst wearing these super shoes. As I was doing considerably more research, the fact came clear that there was no correlation between these super shoes and better performances. So I kept on trying to find an athlete who fitted the description who had improved whilst wearing the super shoes. So for that, I turned to Faith Kipyegon, who has been having an amazing season last year and also placed very well in the World Championships in 2019, where Nike athletes were able to wear the prototypes of these super shoes. However, to my surprise, she didn't wear the super shoes in the World Championships, so my attempt to at least try and give the people who criticise these shoes some hope completely failed, as her personal bests are as followed. In non-super shoes, Faith Kipyegon has ran 3:54.22 in the 1500 and 1:58.02 in the 800. In super shoes, she has ran 3:59.05 in the 15 and 1:57.68 in the 800. So that is around 5 seconds slower in the 1500 and around 0.4 seconds faster in the 800 metres, which on average suggests, again, she is faster without the super shoes. And I just want to point out here, I am not saying that she is faster without the super shoes. I'm just showing that the argument is completely flawed, because obviously there is no correlation between her wearing the super shoes and her being a faster runner, as her times have in fact slowed down. On the other side of things, world records have been broken in the men's 5,000 and 10,000 metres and the women's 5,000 metres wearing the Nike Dragonfly in 2020. However, based off the logic we have currently looked at, this doesn't suggest that the spikes are the actual reason for this, and it's just in fact that the athletes have improved. But to keep the criticisers happy, we can agree that these times are partially as a result of the new shoes. Originally, I was going to look at the fact of natural progression and compare the percentage of increase of times compared to athletes who didn't wear super shoes, but this actually adds to the decrease in correlation between faster times and wearing super spikes. Instead of going over countless times where athletes have improved by wearing normal spikes in comparison to athletes with super spikes, I'm just going to highlight two here, as these are topical to last year's events. First up, you have Nicholas Kimeli, who went into the 2019 season with a personal best over 5,000 metres of 13:11. And on the other hand, you have Joshua Cheptegei, who went into the 2019 season with a personal best of 12:59. They both happened to race in Monaco, where Joshua Cheptegei broke the 5,000 metre world record, one in Nike Super Spikes and the other in standard adidas spikes. Nicholas Kimeli came second in this race with a personal best of 12:51.78. To compare their personal bests in 2020 to where they came into the 2019 season before the super shoes gives a better insight into the progression. Nicholas Kimeli has seen an improvement of 2.5% in his 5,000 metre time. Joshua Cheptegei has seen an improvement of 3.1%. This gives a differential of 4 seconds in Cheptegei's favour. But you also have to take in consideration that Nicholas Kimeli in that race followed Joshua Cheptegei for over half of the race, easily suggesting that his fatigue levels to a 12:51 time would have been the reason for that 4-second differential. But also, if you want to take this further, Joshua Cheptegei wasn't as dominant before the 2019 season as he was in 2020. Meaning an even more natural performance increase is evident, which suggests this 0.6 performance differential increase can be because of race tactics, as well as natural performance increase and not the spikes being worn. The performances of Bowerman Track Club have been one for people to criticise in terms of shoe performance. However, generally, when you have 12 months to train without any races, have the world's best athletes to train with, and have private races where runners can be pacemaked by their teams and there's not as much as an authentic race environment, you can understand why times have been quicker. However, looking at this, Shelby Houlihan ran 14:23.92, which ranked her third in the world for the 2020 season. This is even more impressive as she is not generally a 5,000 metre runner and more suited for the 1,500 metre distance. In this race, she didn't run in any super spikes and in fact ran in an old Nike spike, suggesting again that there is no correlation between improvements in performance, since someone who is considered a 1,500 metre runner managed to shatter the 5,000 metre American record whilst in normal spikes. I can really go on for hours talking about how athletes have improved without wearing spikes or athletes haven't improved whilst wearing the super spikes, but instead I'm just going to show you the world rankings from 2015 to 2021 to see where these super spikes have placed athletes. In this case, we are going to look at where athletes have ran in a super spike and broken their personal best to achieve a ranking position. We are only looking at the athlete's fastest time, as that's the only one what appears on the rankings. My personal favourite statistic is in the men's 800 metres, where the fastest time since 2015 that has been ran in a super shoe where the athlete has ran their personal best is by Andres Kramer with a time of 1:44.47, which ranks him 41st, meaning that 40 other athletes have ran a faster time since 2015 without wearing a super shoe. Also, many of these athletes in front of Andres Kramer now wear super shoes and haven't beaten their previous time. On the women's side of things, it's slightly better for the super shoe critics, where Faith Kipyegon has ran 1:57.68 to rank her 14th since 2015 wearing a super shoe. Everyone else above her ran in a normal shoe, and most of them now run in super shoes and have still not beaten that time. In the men's 1500 metres, Jakob Ingebrigtsen is ranked 3rd with the fastest super shoe time in 3:28.68. Timothy Cheruiyot ran his personal best of 3:28.41 in normal shoes. And looking down the list, the next ranked super shoe is Stuart McSwain in 3:30.51, and he is ranked 18th. Again, this is a pattern where athletes who are now running in super shoes haven't beaten their personal best within this time period whilst wearing super shoes. In the women's 1500 metres, this is the first one where second place is ran by a super shoe, with Siffan Hassan running 3:51.95 in Doha. After that, the next super shoe ranking is 18th, with Sophia Enua running 3:59.70. Every other athlete, and most of them again now running super shoes, haven't managed to beat their personal best. Next up is the men's 5,000 metres, where Joshua Cheptegei is ranked 1st in 12:35.36, which is obviously a world record, and he obviously ran in the Nike Dragonflies, which is a super spike. Mo Ahmed and Jacob Kiplimo also ran in super spikes with a time of 12:47 and 12:48, which ranks them 5th and 6th on that list. All the other athletes around them, however, have ran faster without super spikes, with Solomon Barega running 12:43 in 2018 without super spikes, Geberet running 12:45 in 2018 without super spikes, Kajelcha running 12:46 in 2018 without super spikes. You get the point. Basically, the top 10 is filled with athletes who didn't run in super spikes and ran faster times than now when they are running in super spikes, again suggesting that there is no correlation between super spikes and running faster times. And finally, in the women's 5,000 metres, obviously Gidey is ranked 1st with 14:06, which is a world record, where she did run in super spikes. Other than that, the next super spike ranking is Carissa Schweizer when she ran 14:26 behind Shelby Houlihan, where she ran in Dragonflies, which again is a super spike. Again, it's getting a bit tedious now. Everyone else in that ranking pretty much now runs in super spikes, yet has personal bests from before super spikes came out. I've also seen claims that people think that the super spikes can increase the 10k personal best by 40 seconds. Which I'm sure, after all the statistics I've just read out, you can see that this is completely false with no actual evidence. As a matter of fact, there isn't actually any scientific evidence that suggests that these spikes have seen a correlation in improvements of times. So all the people on Twitter, Let's Run, I Was or Am a Runner, who are criticising these shoes, please know the facts before you just blindly state false claims that not only do diminish athletics as a whole, but also diminish the performance of these athletes. And I'd also like to take the time to personally call out Jamie Webb, who agreed that it would be a good idea to put asterisks next to times ran in these Nike super spikes, where his scenario is a perfect example where the super spikes don't matter, as he had a faster personal best than Elliot Giles outdoors whilst Elliot Giles was wearing super spikes. Yet Elliot Giles, in the exact same shoes as outdoors, ran a 1:43 indoors. So it really doesn't matter about the spikes, and it's obviously other factors what are contributing to this increase in performance, not the spikes, and the times shouldn't have an asterisk next to them, and I think it's completely ridiculous that an athlete is saying these things. Jamie Webb is also a phenomenal athlete who also ran amazing in that indoor race where Elliot Giles ran 1:43. So why can't everyone just accept that athletes are running better than ever, and it's not just because of some super spikes? And also, just to conclude with Mark Scott's situation, there's been many athletes who improved by 40 seconds over the 10k before when they haven't been wearing super spikes. So now, when it happens, just purely because he's wearing these so-called super spikes, do you have to say that it's only down to the shoes? Not the fact that he arguably trains with the best group in the world and he's been gradually improving for years. Thank you for watching, have a nice day, and go buy some super spikes.